I know that wasn't Robert's favorite one, but the dolly image turned out really nice.
Yeah, really cool.
Okay, so can everyone see my screen?
Yep.
Yeah, so we're just going to go through the presentation. I'll be doing most of the slides, and then when it gets to your dedicated slide, I'll probably just like introduce you.
There's a
and you can-
placeholder on there. I'm just going to delete it.
Oh, yeah, so when it gets to your slide, I'll just introduce you, and then you say what you want to say. And then maybe just give me like a little indication to go to the next slide or something, and then yeah, that's all you have to do. And I'll do a demo as well. Okay. I might take my jacket off at this point. I feel too bulky. I don't want to be restricted. Okay. Yeah, all right. So I'm Connor Butchko, and I'm here with the Fire AI Hackathon team. And so this is just a project we've been working on over the past few days, and we're really excited to show it off. So kind of going over what we've been doing. So like I said, we had 2 days to start from a blank slate and develop this really cool solution. And so the problem we wanted to solve is the idea of report generating by wildfire crew. And we were kind of inspired by ChatGPT 3 because it's this really cool tool that can turn natural language and plain text into these things like reports. And so we wanted to kind of take our own spin on that and see if we can tailor that to the wildfire public report perspective. So let's just take a look at it. So this is our Fire Tower app. And so now we're going to be talking to this Fire Tower robot, and he's going to be giving us prompts for things like what organization are we a part of? And this is all important information that we're just going to feed to it and eventually go into our report. So where was the wildfire?
Sorry, Connor, what does XYZ FFP stand for?
I don't know. What does it stand for?
It says for the XYZ Forest Fire Protection Service.
Thank you, Rob. Where was the wildfire? Surrey. And it can even narrow it down so it's more specific information. And so this is like a really fun, natural way to talk to this little bot and get all the information. When did the wildfire start? Let's just say it started today, which is December 22nd. How did the wildfire start? Let's just say lightning strike. And now we can include more specific information like the weather, the power outages. And so these prompts are just yes or no questions. And all you have to do is answer yes or no, and it will pull it from APIs. And so you don't even need to know this information. You just need to opt into it and tell that you want it. And so we just opted into cool things like road closures, air quality, and stuff like that. And so this is the additional fields. All this is optional. But for the purpose of the demo, why don't we just do all of them? So we're just opting into filling in all this information. And so we're just going to continue with this process. Rob, why do you think the fire possibly grew uncontrollably?
Yeah, I think it was a combination of unseasonably high weather or high temperatures, and also temperatures. Oh, I don't know how to. It was close.
That's okay. The chatbot's smart enough to know when you made spelling errors, so
Yeah, so let's go unseasonably high temperatures, and just for some fun to the firefighters, I'll eat too many hot dogs for lunch.
Wow, the firefighters were slacking. Okay. Well, this is a long prompt that we're giving it, but the bot is smart enough to know how to fit that into the context of the report it will generate. Number of types of firefighters. What should we say? 30 firefighters. Anybody else on that field there?
Rich, do you want to jump in and give us something to put in?
Yeah, maybe there was 2 tanker drops or 2 tankers.
Two tankers, sure.
I think there's but isn't there a prompt coming up for
Oh, is there
equipment?
machine?
Oh, like heavy
Yeah,
equipment.
yeah.
So that would be a different thing, but I can throw that in there for sure. For now, let's just do 30 firefighters. Number of hectares, what's a realistic amount? Like 50?
Okay, that
Sure.
works,
Yeah. Doesn't really matter. And so here we can say the 2 tankers. maybe we could see like 3 helicopters as well. Increase in fire activity, let's just say it's decreasing. And then we have a couple more yes or no prompts. So will the public see smoke? Yes. Is infrastructure threatened? Let's just say no. Any additional information you guys want to include in here? What should we, anything important we want to say before we get it to generate our report?
Don't fly drones near wildfires.
Oh, let me make sure I spell it correctly here. Wildfires. All right, and so now the bot is going to generate us a report. So this should only take a couple seconds. It's working hard for us and making sure it can incorporate all that information in there. So we're going to download it, pop it open. So here we have our report. And so you can see the information that we provided is located in here. We got the org name I provided. We got the location, the date, the crew and the equipment, the number of hectares. We got the traffic details that we opted into, the power outage details. And then down here, we even got the weather and the decreased activity. So this is a really cool way. Like we had to just do a pretty simple interaction with the bot. And this is like a very formal report that it generated for us. That whole process, without having to go through like the dialogue of the demo, like would take maybe 30 seconds.
You see, it left out the hot dog part. There's no hot dog. There's no mention of hot dogs in the report.
Yeah, well, that's okay. I don't think the public needs to know about that anyways. Okay, now we're going to go back to our presentation. So just talking about some of the challenges and some of the things we wanted to address. We knew there was a lot of information we wanted to pull in for this, and I kind of alluded to this before, how with things like the weather and the power outages, the road closures, and the air quality, those 4 things we pull in for you. So you don't need to know offhand what the weather is going to be. We just get that information from an API. And so a lot of work went into that. A lot of work also went into the prompts for the fire status details. We wanted to make sure we were getting good information so we could construct this report. And one of the most important things was building this PDF, because we wanted the result to be in a usable and actual actionable way, so that it wasn't just plain text, but it was actually a formatted report that followed a template. And so moving on now, we're going to each go through our separate contributions. So for the APIs we use, Kayleen's going to talk a bit about this.
Yeah, so we pulled in data from 4 different sources. Weather data, road closure data from, what is it? BC Roads called. Pulled in data from BC Hydro for power outages and air quality data. Like all of this information is out there and like provides part of the information regarding like the impact to humans regarding wildfires, but it's hard to like sift through and sort of understand. So our hope was to like aggregate it and then give it to the chatbot to like synthesize into a more understandable information for the public.
Awesome, thanks. For the next one, we're going to be shooting it over to Damien to talk about how we generated the PDFs.
So the PDF, we just use a module, but it will grab the data that we get back, and then depending on what we get, we can then parse it out, put it into a document that we then could use. So it tries to highlight some summaries on the location and specifics, and then the rest of it is just a report that we can use. So this is our essentially deliverable from the application. So once we get all that information, this is the sum up that we can then take away from it.
Thanks, Damien. Now for some of the design aspects, Jason's going to be talking about this.
Yeah, so we kind of began with Peter and I, where we kind of sat down and then synthesized all kind of the criteria that we wanted, especially more so devising a use case. So from the beginning, what is the end deliverable that a user might want? And it was that PDF. a lot of it has kind of structured around the hierarchy and a bit of focus on the color. And a lot of our inspiration come from like our frequent messaging SMS apps, some things like Messenger, Google Messages, and a little bit of Snapchat. A lot of it has been kind of fire focused rather, meaning that like since we have potential to use ChatGPT, it opens up a very large scope, which we had to consciously narrow down for the sake of our time constraint. And then the last part that I would want to highlight is just this discovery of constraints via like collaboration, working with Douglas and Damien to figure out certain things of elements that we would need in a particular case, as you're seeing right there, that little loading state to indicate that the chat bot is kind of just thinking and creating and formulating the answers. So yeah.
Yeah, sweet. It looks great. And now Doug's going to be talking about the app development of it.
Yeah, so we threw together the console app that we have over on the right, and that gave us a really quick way to iterate with the flow and kind of what questions were being asked, what information was useful from that. That meant that we could simultaneously work on improving our model and the data information gathering, all that stuff, while we were doing the design task over on the other side. This meant that we could pretty quickly iterate and build out something that worked really well, and we could take advantage of everybody that we had working on it.
Sweet. And Rob is going to talk more about GPT-3 and how we integrated with it.
Yeah, so I spent quite a bit of time yesterday just kind of working with Connor and trying to get a reasonable and consistent report out. And we took a couple of different approaches. One was how, like what tone or what voice do we do it? And so for a little while, we'd be like, write a blog post as a government information officer that describes this wildfire. But that was kind of too broad and open-ended. And so you might get one report initially that was really good, but then you would start getting into but then the next one wouldn't be, it just wasn't consistently good enough. And so and then for a little while we would we would pick, we'd try to find a famous voice to rely on. So it'd be in the tone of some famous news anchor, write this report in the style of a government blog. And so sometimes that would work, but ultimately what ended up working the best is by actually just asking it. And I just pulled one up here, but it's just actually providing it a list of rules to follow while it's writing the report. So write a blog post about the following wildfire that is succinct, factual, from the point of view of the Wildfire Response Agency, includes relevant links, synthesizes the information for public consumption, doesn't use inflammatory language, does not elicit an emotional response from the reader. I think maybe the final version had a couple extras. And there might be some redundancy in there. We didn't have the time to figure out how to shrink those commands into the cleanest, shortest thing. But when we look at kind of that report, maybe why it didn't include hot dogs as one of the reasons that the fire escaped is possibly because it was kind of working within the parameters that we had set forward, where it just determined that hot dogs were an inflammatory or maybe would elicit a response. But anyways, yeah, it was actually really great and super fun to kind of work with Connor on that one.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, so closing it off, this was a really fun experiment for all of us to work on. We all had a great time. I think we came up with something really cool and something we can all be proud of. Like I said, we started from absolutely nothing and we created this all from scratch. So from the 16 hours that we spent on it total over the course of 2 days, it's really cool to have a finished kind of thing to show off and be proud of. So yeah, I'm just really proud of everyone involved, and thanks for working hard on it, guys.
Yeah, awesome. And then kind of just to kind of follow that up, this was this is a big day, a big moment for Connor, where he stops being a co-op student and becomes a full stack developer with the team. And so, Connor, it's been really great. It's been
Thank
great
you.
watching you hone your leadership chops over the last 2 days, and yeah, really excited. Great.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody. Okay. So
I think you have to stop recording as well. Yeah.